Well, it's not there yet. They have great plans for New Las Vegas Slovakia style.
Yes, yes. But the thing with that, Michael, is that they're. And by the way, hello everybody. It's Mikey and Vinnie here on your YouTube and on
On
your
your on your
Facebook
on your
and in your
patutor.
phone and wherever else we may come to you from. Look in the walls. We may be there too.
Oh, I'm definitely up the wall, in the wall, beyond the wall, over the wall, up
Off the
against the
wall.
wall.
Up against the wall, mother. Oh,
Yeah,
that famous David Peel in the Lower East Side song.
I know there was never a response to that. That's like a command that would elicit a response, such as "Yes, sir, I'll be right with you," or "If you could just hold on a moment, I don't have a wall handy."
Yeah, I need to find a wall. We'll find a wall and I'll go up against it.
We'll
Anyway,
find.
we are Mikey and Vinny. We are bicentennial. He's in Pasadena. I'm in Seattle, and we cover the coast like nobody else does.
And the
We ought
coast
to
is going
have
to
like
get.
a breaker for that. Bup, 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 bup. We cover the coast. Bup,
We
bup, bup,
cover the
bup, bup,
coast.
bup, 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 bup.
And the
Yes,
coast is
you.
all the news today as we're preparing to be battered once again.
Yes, you are in for another slap in the face weather event, aren't you?
I think it's Mother Nature getting even for Fresno. She just keeps picking on that town for some reason.
I don't know, Mikey. It seems like snow, and then I just saw a little news clip on from Channel 8 in Sacramento or Channel 10, I forget, with the Surgeon General on there telling you how to what not to do with flood water.
Channel
And the first
10,
thing is don't drink it.
don't drink it, don't boil it, don't keep it around the house, don't offer it to friends or guests that come by. Flood water, anyone? Flood water?
Don't mix your alcohol with it.
Because it's full of the remnants of everything else that we live our complicated chemical laden lives with.
Yeah, including the remains of dead animals. He
You
made
know,
it.
isn't it funny, Vinny? The same thing happens during forest fires when it burns everything, and it talks about the nature of that smoke is containing the same deadly elements that the water contains when it floods. You burn them, it turns into one thing. You soak them in water, and you've got quite a punch for the Christmas party.
Well, yeah, I could imagine that that's exactly the thing that Dr. Pfeffer was telling us about in seventh grade science class. Happens when you heat
Not
something
doc-
up or
not
freeze
Doctor.
it.
Didn't you have Doctor Fine in seventh grade?
No, Dr. Pfeffer.
Doctor Pfeffer, Doctor Fine, Doctor Howard.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we were about as into the Three Stooges then as you were going to be. No, Dr. Pfeffer was a kindly old gentleman who drove an old Pontiac and was our science teacher and in seventh grade our homeroom teacher.
And whatever
And
became of him.
he was a nice guy, you know. I mean, he didn't uh, he didn't offend. He didn't. He just wanted to teach you science.
Did he teach you how to blow up a car of a visiting Don who happened to be in town?
No,
Checking
they
out
waited
the.
till high school for that. That was automotive shop in high school, especially if you went to like Bensonhurst High School or Bay Ridge High School. If you went to one of the or the Bronx High School of Science.
Now there's a slight delay when he turns the key before the blast goes off, and many people think they have time to get out of the car. Don't worry about that. Don't fret yourself over it. Most people cannot get out in time.
No, no, the stuff you saw about Lefty Rosenthal is not true.
It happened once, okay? It's not going to happen again.
Especially if you're wearing Sansabelt pants.
Sammy Sanzabelt, remember we had him paged?
Oh, Sonny Sansabelt, yes.
Everyone in
Sonny
Vegas was running
Sansabelt,
around.
please report to Eastern Airlines.
Yeah, pick up a white courtesy phone if you can find one. If you know what a white courtesy phone is, this message is not for you.
Sonny Sansabelt to the white courtesy phone.
Why couldn't it just be pick up a white phone? Does it have to be courtesy? It's like we're providing
That was a John Hunter produced thing, wasn't it?
the airlines want you to know that that phone belongs to them, but they're letting you use it for just this moment.
And only, I mean, you can't make a personal call. You just have to get on there, see what Sonny wants, and then get out of there. Because there's other people waiting for their moment in the sun,
Now,
shall we
are
say.
you really talking to Sonny, or are you talking to a voice actor who's just doing a bit?
You're talking to somebody sitting in a room downstairs trying to make you feel good.
And it's next to the counting room, so they can see the profit being made, but they can't participate in it.
They don't. Do they even still do that in the airports? I mean, is there still do they still page people like that?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
remember that the last time I was in an airport that I
They
heard
can
them
barely
saying,
they can
well, you
barely
know,
be asked to tell you when to get to the gate on time. They got nothing to say because as we're in a position right now, if you're on a train or a plane, you're in the most dangerous spot in America. I can't tell you what's going to happen or when it's going to happen or who's responsible, but I can tell you that when they start to try to open the door to get out, that's a bad sign. That's someone who's not making decisions based on all the facts at hand. What's your solution? Well, I feel kind of weird, and I thought I'd get off the plane, but we're at 35,000 feet. I'm just going to mention that once. You open the door, you'll be sucked to oblivion.
well, I
Well, in
think
that
that
case, I just hit the lady who has the drink cart.
yeah, people have lost their ability to function in public. When you're at 35,000 feet or 20,000 or even for that matter 100 feet,
10
and you
feet's a good
decide that you
fall.
want to leave the plane before everybody else, it becomes a problem for many
It
people.
becomes it becomes a real problem.
Um, and I don't know. I thought there's supposed to be marshals on these planes or people on these planes that but it
I
seems
heard
like the
last night.
passengers have to.
Funny you bring that up. I thought so too, but the marshals are there for hijacking only. And so if you're acting a fool in the hallway and taking the drinks cart to the end of the plane and rushing people with it, if you have a weapon or are in some other way impeding the safe flight of that plane, the marshal is still not necessarily supposed to reveal himself until you try to hijack the plane. Then, of course, he snaps into action, but he may or may not be armed, which is kind of funny. That's optional. It's like having a guy at first base. He may or may not have cleats. He could go to
Well, that's
second,
pretty
but
stupid if
he's
that's
in
the
his bare feet.
truth.
That's the truth. It's pretty stupid,
If
and they're
that's
not on every flight anyway.
we're going to get to a point in this country where we're going to have armed guards on everything. At a ball game, at a although in Cleveland they still have the armed guards there, but at a ball game or at any kind of event where people gather, you're going to have people walking around with automatic rifles and machine guns, uh, to take care of business. And who's watching them?
The cartels are watching them.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but I have to laugh at the fact that the cartels wrote an apology letter
By hand
by hand.
with several grammatical errors on Espanol. Even though it was their native language, it presented some challenges they weren't prepared to meet as a cartel.
Well, you wouldn't expect that, that they would have done it on station, on like, hi, the Majorcan cartel, Washington, D.C., 60606, or whatever. But maybe that's the most fascinating. I mean, it's not the saddest part. Obviously, these people, unfortunately, losing their lives by mistake, when they're just cruising across the border to go get, a tummy tuck.
The
And
funny thing is, the cartels have an image problem. They think this gives organized crime a bad name, so they snapped into action. Did the mob ever do that? Turn over some players tied hand to hand and leave them in the street, saying, "Here's the guys you're looking for."
yeah, oh no, I totally think that the mafia, the Italians and the Jews and the Irish that were in that business in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, if somebody had done something stupid, if somebody had done something by mistake, there were, I think, several incidences of them uh, turning over the person or them taking care of the person themselves.
Measures were taken.
I mean, yeah, if the mafia back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, they made their money off of providing things to the public that were, for whatever reason, forbidden by law enforcement. So hookers or gambling or illegal cigarettes, things like that. And so there had to be kind of a bond there or a trust between the mob guys and the general public. If you wanted something done in one of those neighborhoods, if you had a problem with somebody in one of those neighborhoods that they controlled, you didn't call the cops. You
No.
went to the local guy, and the guy fixed it because they didn't want anything to interfere with their business.
And in your expertise, do you think that they did it in a fair and equitable way, like we saw in The Godfather? In other words, when the man was complaining about the way his daughter was treated, she wasn't murdered, she wasn't beaten, she was sexually attacked. So they tried to make the payment that the ruffians had to face equal to the crime that they had committed.
I think it all depended on the person. I think you had nut jobs that would go overboard, and then you had people of reason that said, well, this is what the crime was, and this should be the justice. And then you had some of the people who didn't want to be bothered with that kind of stuff. I think we make the mistake with organized crime that we make with almost anything where we have a group of people that are identifiable. Um, you know, we say because we see that one person does something one way that every Italian will act like that, or every black person will act like that, or every Irish person will act like that. We kind of buttonhole them into stereotypes. And the reality is you had crazy Italian people like Nicky in Casino, who would beat the crap out of you at the drop of a hat just because you looked at him wrong.
He was a troubled soul.
Right, and you had other people who, as long as the neighborhood ran smooth, the whole object was to keep the machine running.
Keep the earning going on.
Right, keep the money going. If you had a guy and he was a good earner, and he did something stupid, no, you might have a good chance of surviving because he earned.
But he must
Um,
listen. He must listen to reason this time.
right, he gets another chance. If you got a guy that's ratting you out or a guy that's screwing around with your wife, um, chances are that guy's not going to survive because there's going to be a sense of that some justice must be handed out, and he's going against the rules.
And one thing that Bugsy Siegel violated was the budget. Yeah, he put Vegas on the map. Yes, he did. But he also spent more than he should have. He did it without permission. He did it with impunity, and he paid dearly for it.
Well, I think also the other thing that Bugsy Siegel violated, I think, and again, I'm no more expert than anybody who's watched a couple of movies or books on these things. I think that Bugsy Siegel's real crime was that he let his ego get out of himself.
It wasn't business. It
He
was personal.
Well, yeah, he also though he also there was he started to become too well known. He went to nightclubs. He got his name in the paper all the time. He was going out with a fairly famous actress who had gone out with somebody else, and then at the end it was that whether he was or she was somebody that he was responsible for was stealing money.
Yep.
And
We can't have that.
when you put all of those things together, it's there becomes a fear of, well, if this guy gets caught, gets hauled in by the feds, is he going to talk?
Everything's going to unravel.
Yeah, it's like the Andy guy in Casino. He's a nice kid, but who knows? We got to take care of him anyway.
It was coming. We saw it coming. We knew it was coming. Now it's time.
You may be the nicest kid in the world, but if they think that if you get caught by the feds, you're going to rat on them, why take a chance? As Remo says, why take a chance?
And that's pretty good reasoning in that business.
Yeah.
And
I
well,
mean,
that's what the Mexican. I think the Mexican cartels took a page from your quote right there. They looked at said, "Look, we got a mess on our hands. We didn't want it, but we could maybe fix it with a nice letter. Jose, you can write the nice letter and give me 5 people who we don't need anymore. Why 5? It looks good. They did the thing. We know they were on the video. 5 young ones from the street, and we'll consider the payment in full.
Yeah, and to many people that will be justice. I don't know if there's, I mean, we haven't seen this, but it wouldn't surprise me if it came out that there was a large transference of money that went to these families
Because
of
they have
these people that were
a couple
killed.
funerals to deal with. The cartel
Yeah,
could pick
if
up
there
that.
was, listen, we got all this money cash that we don't need. Let's put it to good use. And if I were the feds, I'd be watching their bank accounts because
I would hope they know where it is. They just
if
can't do much about it.
yeah, it would shock me if there wasn't some money involved here as well.
That's all the cartels really are in business to deal with is money. They're a profit machine.
Yeah,
They're
I don't think they
they're
care as much about the power as they do about as long as the money keeps flowing.
it is more brutal than even the Columbia gangs. The constant reliance on summary violence to keep everybody in line gets a little bit old and keeps the civil organization of these towns and these states in Mexico in a certain level of you're waiting for the other shoe to fall always. What's the cartel going to do today? They're not going to tell us. They're just going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. They don't. There's no Good Morning Cartel show where they come on and say, "Okay, well today we'll be operating down in this area, and this area, and that area." I mean, I remember when I was a kid. I wasn't so much of a kid. I was a young adult. And the Colombians moved into Jackson Heights, which was the neighborhood I grew up in. Um,
What a surprise.
with cocaine.
Oh,
And
well, let them in.
well, it was interesting because there was a backlash against them, not because they were dealing cocaine, but because they were Spanish. And
Ah,
they were
yes.
moving into a neighborhood that was previously a fairly white neighborhood. And I remember early on, I was not that old. I mean, I guess I was 14, 15, something like that. The Colombians wiped out an entire family. It was like 6 people in the house. I think it was like a grandmother, the parents, and the kids. And they went in and wiped out this whole family because they had crossed them, I guess, in some kind of drug deal.
They had
Or
reason to
one of the
believe
people.
that they'd be better off dead.
And it was the first indicator you had of how violent and how, I mean, if you followed organized crime at all before that, I mean, it was always the you don't touch the wife, you don't touch the kids, you don't. These people didn't. There was no rules like that. They kill a cop, they kill whoever they need to kill.
Just,
Life is
just
cheap,
every day.
and it certainly put a fear into dealing with these people. You didn't want to deal with them, man. You didn't want, if you were into buying drugs at that point, you didn't want anything to do with them.
It gives drug sales a bad name. Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean that's why sometimes it's so laughable to walk into a pot store these days, and you go back and you think about. Well, I used to have to go to an apartment and knock on the door, and you walk in and there's a guy with a gun right there on the table. He's going to pick it up and shoot you. You're buying a $5 bag, and you got to go through this kind of angst.
That was my suggestion to one marijuana store in Pasadena. I said, "Your customer service is a little thin, a little bare. You can see through it. We have guards, we have rules, regulations. Show your ID, turn your hat backwards, walk through this door. No, not there. Okay, double locks before and behind." I said, "You don't inspire confidence in your business plan.
Well, and that's been created in part by the government, who has said that, or the banking system, that who has said because marijuana at a federal level is still illegal, you can't use credit cards
No, you cannot.
to buy pot. It's not because they're afraid of somebody rolling up. It's that you would then be committing a traceable federal crime. So now you have these stores, these places where inordinate amounts of cash are available
Millions a month.
for the taking.
In fact, there's so much marijuana in California that the illegal marijuana business still exists parallel to the legal marijuana system because there's just enough to go around. Everybody's growing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't participate in it up here, but I'm sure that if I needed to buy an ounce or whatever it is of dope, that it wouldn't be that hard for me to find.
Well, I would go to Sean Kemp's, but has he calmed down? Has Sean calmed down? Did he finally come to
Seems
his
like
senses?
he's calmed down.
He was lucky. I didn't want him to be charged, but it didn't sound good.
Well, yeah, I mean, it didn't sound like he used his brains. It didn't sound like something where he reasoned that before I go down there and get into this with these people, maybe I ought to call the cops. Maybe I ought to, let's leave it to the cops to take care of it.
Because
He didn't
otherwise,
he wanted the street justice.
he wanted to just casually drive to Tacoma from Seattle, provide a gun to a drive-by shooting that was about to happen, and hope that it would all just go away in the morning.
You know, I like Sean. He's never struck me as the brightest light bulb in the box.
No, he has certain talents that are undeniable, and those were gifts from Mother Nature.
And listen, I don't know if it's any of us could say that if somebody called us and said, "Well, your car is in this parking lot that was just stolen from you," or this or that or the other thing, that we wouldn't go down there too. But most reasonable people would call the cops and say, "Hey, I'm heading down there. This is where the car I was told it is. If you see me, I'm a large black guy and probably not use my gun." And
Yeah,
not
probably.
fire shots at him, and maybe not approach him until the cops got
If
there.
you hear
That's for the guys
shots,
with the bulletproof vests.
if you hear shots being fired, it's probably not me.
But again, it's a different world than we live in. We live in a world where we use the police to help us out. They live in a world where the police are still seen as not going to help them out. I don't know if they see him as an enemy so much,
Just an opportunity to make
but
their
they're
position
seen
clear.
as, the police are seen as people who are not going to be helpful to a 40-year-old black guy.
Could possibly be helpful. Could maybe save your life or give you CPR, give you a good strong talking to, and send you home to your mama. Chances are they won't.
But that's not the perception that community has when it comes to police. The community has a perception that the police are the enemy. Which it serves you well in one way, but in another way, when you need the police to help you out, to regain some of your property, to do something that will benefit you, it doesn't always work out that they're there for your help.
And as we've seen recently in college ball and in professional sports, it's always the guy who has the gun that gets in trouble. I need a gun to commit a crime that must be committed tonight, but I don't have a gun. Is there anybody on my team that has a gun? Yes, 5 guys have guns. Good. You're coming with me. And by the way, please bring those party favors with you.
Mike, I remember actually saying this a few times when players would get caught in with guns or weapons of some kind. What the hell are you carrying a gun for? You're an NBA player. The security all over the place. Yada yada yada. And slowly my mind is changing on that. I don't think that everybody should carry a gun, but if you're in a high profile position where people see you as a target of some kind,
They're
whether
not
it
there
be
to say hello or ask for your autograph.
right, there are people out there who, for whatever reason, um, have decided that they want to harm you or your family.
A lot of people still hold a grudge because of the World's Fair, as you know.
Yeah, yeah.
They hold that grudge. They don't
Yeah.
want that World's Fair
There's
anymore.
people that are still pissed off that they put the World's Fair here or that they put the college in Pullman in the jail in Colfax.
They never did get that straight.
Never got that straight. So how do you deal with those people? Do you have, and reality is, if you call a cop, you're never sure how long it's going to take for the cop to get there. It's not like they're doing nothing. And they say, oh, well, let's go ahead over to Vinnie's house. There's trouble.
It might be like they're doing nothing. The sheriff of LA County recently said that he's going to turn his attention to 18 gangs. All 18 of those gangs are made up of sheriff deputies who are actually sworn deputies to the sheriff, who operate within the sheriff's department as a separate enforcement policy, doing the work that they, as a gang, decide needs to be done, making the arrests that have to be made, beaten down who needs to be beaten down, taking payments from people who can afford it, doing the business of organized crime. As the same time they serve as the sheriff's deputy, they have a second loyalty to their own gang. 18 of them exist in the LA County Sheriff's Department.
It's amazing. But listen, you had guys that were hooked up with the mafia that were in the NYPD.
Valuable assets.
It's not anything that the sheriff's department in LA thought of first.
No.
It's been going on in police departments. How many of these small town police departments, the cops serve at the pleasure of the richest guy in town or at the pleasure of the guys who are taking a little piece off the top for corn shipments or whatever the heck they're. Corruption is corruption in anywhere you go. And anywhere you go where there's a chance where people who don't make a lot of money can make money, there's going to be corruption.
That's an opportunity they won't pass up.
Now, what I want to know, Michael, you're an LA guy, so you could probably answer this question better than anybody else I know. What the heck was that yesterday? Where they sat there for 4 hours looking at some guy sucking down nitrous oxide.
He had a lot of it, didn't he? I mean, he had like unlimited supplies.
Had more than my dentist probably has.
He was pretty entertaining. Apparently, he was doing celebrity voices when he would get the balloon going. All right, here's one for Robert Blake, who just died at the age of 89. I got a scene from Beretta for you that I'm going to do in a falsetto. You're going to love it. Hold on.
All right, I'm against the wall, motherfucker.
I was.
They were right there. They could reach out and touch him.
I came back from some doctor stuff yesterday, and I was lying down, and I happened to switch it on because I get the alert that there's something going on in L.A.
Right.
And I think I watched 3 Pursuits yesterday, and this one was like I started watching it, and I fell asleep, and I woke up, and it was still going on. I was like, how did they not just go and pull this guy out of this truck? And it was funny because he couldn't really go anywhere except through the fence and into the wash.
Right.
But they drove a car through the wash, so it wasn't like he would have sunk the truck or anything. They tried to get him with gas, and they couldn't get him with gas because he brought his own gas.
Wow.
I mean, I don't advocate shooting the guy by all means.
I always say one in the leg changes the environment pretty quickly, but that's just me.
Yeah, there's 12 or 14 or 18 of you guys, and there's one of him, and he looks pretty whacked out.
I think, Vinnie, someone got to them and said, what you're doing right now is live on all channels. I don't care what you do. Do not shoot that guy. I don't care how long it takes. Bring him. I want him alive and undamaged.
Yeah, I mean, why do you I mean, at least I think you tase him, right? And you just knock him out.
Because tasing is so funny, as we see with the average Karen who gets tased, goes right down. There's no hesitation or moment of a weakness where they realize they've done the wrong thing. When that wash of realization crosses over their face, no, don't. If you're waiting for that, you're going to be very disappointed in the Karens and the Kevins of the United States, the people who ruin not only plane flights but now train trips as well, are of a certain state of mind when they're causing problems, and they will not listen to reason. So that's why tasing always catches them right there in mid-sentence.
Yeah,
they're explaining that I'm a constitutional citizen of the United States. I don't have to show you my. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I just
I'll
got
be right
shot back into reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I just it was. Now, you know, I mean, of course, the media in LA had 9 million people coming on and tell them how this is the standard of police departments all over the world as they come to LA to train for this. And, you know, how the cops are so patient, the sheriff's department is so patient, and that they're, you know, that they're doing a wonderful job here, and the commissioner should be proud, and the mayor should be proud, and everybody should be proud of them. And I'm sitting there thinking, what absolute bullshit.
What a waste of time. What a waste of effort.
I mean, you know, this guy's got the whole neighborhood blocked up for miles around. People can't get in or out.
What was his original crime? Do you remember? What got him in trouble?
They were pulling him over for DUI.
So alcohol was involved.
Well, I don't know if it was alcohol or, you know, whatever he was vaping in there.
Amyl nitrate.
Whatever he was,
cornered the market.
Sucking down from the gas tube.
Cornered the market on amyl nitrate and got a 4-wheel drive truck, and that's all they needed for trouble.
I mean, it seemed to me to be such. I mean, if I was a cop out there, I'd have been embarrassed. I'd have been like, wait a minute, you know. I mean, if Joe Bolton was here, he would have walked up to the door, cracked the guy in the head with the nightstick, and he would have went down, and that's it. They would have dragged him out with no shots fired. So then I'm watching a little later in the evening, and another alert comes on. Boom, another pursuit. And so the cops are chasing this guy in a Scion all over I-5 and I-405 and this way and that way. And then they just give up the pursuit.
What? They let him go?
They just let him go. So Stu in the helicopter says, well, they're going to let him go. And the reason for, you know, that he's the most annoying human being in the world.
Oh, yeah, because he
this
can't get it
guy,
right.
Stu from Fox on that, because that's the alert I get. He can't stop when they finally resolve the situation. He can't stop talking.
Let it go, Stu. Let the pictures tell the story.
No, but Stu can't do that. Stu has to give you all of the inside information he knows, which is really not much.
Just listening to the police radio, which anyone could do.
Right. He's listening to the same thing that I could click on my phone and listen to LAPD Zone 3 and tell you exactly what's going on.
Turns into Code 4 pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, but this guy doesn't know when to shut up, and he's sitting there, and he's you know, at one point he's cheering for the cops, and he's this, and that, you know, he's trying to walk that line of being the cop's friend, you know.
His job is just to tell us why we're chasing him in the first place and where we are in the chase. We're just coming up to the 405. He's got to make a choice.
He can't do it, and he's so annoying. But yet, you know, you kind of get hooked into that stuff to watch it.
Well,
I
you
mean, I'll
know,
admit I'm like the Pavlov's dog. You know, when the bell rings
you can
and it
imagine
says
the
chase
adrenaline.
on in Los Angeles, I'm at the TV.
Imagine the adrenaline level of driving at great speeds like that in pursuit of someone who may or may not be a real criminal, and it goes on for 45 minutes or an hour and a half. And if you've tried driving like that at that speed with that attention for detail for that length, it's exhausting. And those cops want to grab that guy by the neck more than somewhat.
Right. And you know, it's funny because I think the high speed pursuit that you just talked about, that's one thing. But it's these low speed pursuits
The neighborhood
where
crawl.
the guy's doing 35 or 40 miles an hour and you know, they've been ordered for whatever reason to just stay behind him and to not, you know, block him in, or they try the now famous pit maneuver,
Doesn't
you
always
know,
work.
that somebody taught him how to do at some point. And so they bump the guy and try to roll his car over or stop him or whatever, which 9 out of 10 times doesn't work because they don't hit the guy hard enough to do any damage to his car. You're supposed to hit him in the wheel so you flip him over or
Yeah.
you break the wheel. But they tap him in the bumper.
It's funny how the physics of a car react to high speed maneuvers where you make a move and you think the car's going to go that way, but it goes the opposite way. You think you're going to maintain control, and pretty soon you find yourself right into the divider strip. It's the four-wheel drive car. I mean, cars with four wheels react in strange ways sometimes when they're put under pressure, and they just fly all over the road.
Yeah, you don't really know when you do that. I mean, I'm thinking that now I've never taken well, actually, I have taken a police defensive driving course many years ago, and they didn't have the pit maneuver in the books.
Was that Bob Bondurant?
Uh, was it Bondurant? Yes, it was. As a matter of fact, down in Phoenix, and we I went to another one too at when I was in Pittsburgh. I went to the Pennsylvania State Troopers Academy, and they had us out to look at their defensive driving, and I think they did do a pit maneuver there. But it was, you know, you don't know what the physics of a car, where it's going to go, how it's going to react, because the guy turning the wheel can maneuver it one way. You're hitting it in a certain way, can either send it straight, can send it this way, can send it up on the sidewalk. And the idea is you're not trying to kill anybody else. You know, if you kill the son of a gun that's driving the car, that's one thing. But if you knock old Charlie off the, you know, if you knock the guy who's come out of his house to stand on the sidewalk and watch you go by.
Now that is a true LA invention. Is you watch the chase on TV, and when they get close to your house, you go down to see it in person. Give him a drink as he goes by.
Oh yeah, when I was a kid, we had a guy, Al the Garbage Man. And Al the Garbage Man, part-time, drove a tow truck. And he led the police on one of the more epic chases in Queens history. He started on 102nd Street and Astoria Boulevard, and the cops went to pull him over.
Nope.
And for some reason, Al didn't want to stop.
That's Al. That's Al.
So they started chasing him. And being as I was working at the tow truck office on 98th and Northern, I had the police radio. I could follow along with the chase. And sure enough, they get up to Northern Boulevard. And now they're headed toward the city on Northern Boulevard. And here comes Al in the middle of the road going, you know, I mean, he knows how to drive because he drives a Chase tow truck. And Al's like going 4 wide on the street. And then it was like, wait, you know, 4 police cars are following. I mean, he led him on a chase. I mean, he must have been getting chased for about 25 minutes. I mean,
What
they
was his
caught
re-
him clear down in Long Island City.
what got into him that day? Did he ever say?
You know, he just said he felt like running. Now, who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe he had some pot on him. Maybe he had some drugs on him. Who knows? At that time, the Rockefeller law was in effect, where if you get caught with over a certain amount of drugs, you can be sentenced to life in jail. So I'd probably be running too. But Al was a good guy too. I mean, I always got along with him real well.
Well, I wonder if there's been in a more rural setting a time when somebody in a Corvette just outraced somebody who was driving a Dodge Dart for a cop car, and they never did find him. But chances are,
Yeah. There's plenty of. If you go on YouTube and you look at car chases, there's a number of them there that the guy just ditched them. He just knew the back roads better than they did, especially it seems in Oklahoma and Alabama and anything that's like south of the Mason-Dixon line. Them good old boys know them back roads,
you better. That's where business is made.
and they know how to ditch their cars. They know what barn they can pull into, or they know what road they can go down and get into some patch or something. Now, not to say the cops don't know it too, but I think at some point when you're chasing somebody in that situation, you probably know where they live.
By the time, after the radio's located everything, you know who you're chasing and what their record is and what they're liable to do.
I mean, it's not like you're living in New York City. I mean, you're living in Scroomy, Alabama, and you're chasing Billy Joe, and Billy Joe's only got one place to go. Back to his mother's house. Maybe he's hiding out at Pinky Lou's house for a little while before he goes back there. But you're eventually going to see him. If nothing else, you're going to see him on church on Sunday.
Pinky Lou
They
was
can
a
arrest
bad
him there.
Pinky Lou was a bad influence on him. It always was.
Pinky Lou was a bad influence on a lot of young men. Pinky Lou, she corrupted the youth of Alabama for a long time. And Georgia.
Yeah. Who are we chasing here, sir? Well, we're chasing yet another friend of Pinky Lou. His favorite movie is Groundhog Day. He likes check shirts, and he's been a fan of the Boston Red Sox his entire life.
And he's been out in the moonshining woods, so we're suspecting that he's got some stuff in his car.
We told him he has to pay the tax to the revenuers, but he won't listen to reason.
And that's how NASCAR was born.
Indeed. Is your car legal? Is my car legal? No, it's not legal. How do you think I stayed in business?
We forget that's how NASCAR was born. That these guys was running the juice.
What are you taking? What are you taking your juice in?
We can make some money on this.
Now looky here. You can't be driving a Nash Rambler full of our product. I want a Hellcat, a Dodge Hellcat, to be making the shipment over the hill.
I want a Dodge Charger. I want a Chevy Impala.
Or a Camaro. I want a Camaro muscle.
Camry.
Yeah. And under the pressure of working in the moonshine industry, sooner or later they snap, and the sheriff has to chase them down.
Yeah, and we'll even make a movie out of it. We'll get Robert Mitchell. We'll make this movie called Thunder Road.
And the good old boys that you see running from the cops every day on Facebook are always of a different mindset. They don't really care about the consequences after a while. They just want to get away.
Well, what are the consequences these days?
But when they catch you, they're going to tan your hide, as they say in the business.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, if it's not on camera, you're going to get tuned up. And, you did something stupid, so you take your beating, right?
That's justice in America.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it works. If you put a cop's life in danger, chances are he's going to tune you up.
Plus, if he worked the pit maneuver on you twice and you got away twice, he is in a state of mind that he's seeing red. Let's put it that way.
Well, the other part of it is you got to go back to the police precinct that night and take all the crap from from your buddies who anybody who's been around any kind of athletic locker room or clubhouse knows how that goes. They don't. There's not a lot of love and mercy for people who don't do their job well in those situations. I can't imagine it's any different in a policeman's locker room.
No, that's a rough crowd. A room full of cops. That's a rough crowd.
Yeah, you let somebody get away, you're going to take some heat for it.
20 cops in a row plus a helicopter, and he got away. Well, he ran into the housing development. How was I supposed to know?
Yeah, it's funny. I wonder if it's different in New York than it is in like Los Angeles or somewhere in Texas, where they take the police in a lot more seriously.
It's kind of funny. We have freeways that'll go anywhere, but the funny thing about LA is you can't get out. You can't get out of LA when there's 20 cops after you. You're on the 405. You're not getting out. You think you're going, but where are you? You started in Long Beach. Now you're in Encino. You didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, and why do guys always try to go by the airport?
It's a bad bet because traffic is thick there at LAX.
Right. The only thing I can think of is that they figure that the helicopter isn't going to be able to follow them the closer they get to LAX or to Burbank or to Long Beach. One of those airports. It just but I don't know that for a fact. Maybe they have a special thing, but it always seems like these guys head for the airport.
It's as if they can do a quick check-in at the curb and hop on a plane and get out of town.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the valet parking. Why don't you park this for me?
or get on the plane and start. Get on the plane and start throwing drinks, and now the marshal on the plane has got to make the arrest instead of the
No, but he's not going to make us. You didn't say you were going to hijack the plane. All you said is, I want to throw some drinks.
You stabbed the waitress with a fork. That's not a hijack. I let it go.
That's sorry. We're not going to. We can't assist you on that. We're here for hijacks and hijacks only. That would be like you stand in front of a bank and somebody beats the living piss out of you, starts to assault you, and the cop says, "Well, listen, we're out on a bank robbery squad."
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
if they didn't rob the bank, we really can't help you.
You got in the way with your beating, so the bank isn't finished robbed yet. It hasn't been finished. The job's still going, so we got to let it finish before we pull him over. As for you, you just would you bleed over there, please?
Oh, man. I thought Robert Blake was dead.
I did too.
Yeah, didn't you think he was dead?
Well, now there's no doubt. I think maybe there was some question about how alive he was.
We had an Abe Vigoda living among us, and we didn't even know it.
Can you give me a break for old time's sake? It turns out he made it to 89.
I had no idea that he was still alive. I thought he had died years ago.
Well, after the trial, he didn't get as many invites to the Tonight Show as he used to.
He used to be on the Tonight Show a lot, He was one of, I think he was one of Johnny's favorites.
Well, he would engage and be charming.
I saw...
And he was a little rascal.
Yeah. I saw a Tonight Show earlier this week with Jackie Gleason's only appearance on it.
Wow.
And it was actually pretty good. You hardly ever see Carson get starstruck.
But the great one.
But I believe that he was starstruck with Jackie Gleason.
Well, Jackie had the lovable side, but then he had the professional Jackie side when he had the cigarette going and the pinky ring, and he wasn't given anything for free. There was no samples being handed out. You had to earn. If you had questions, they better be good ones.
Yeah, from what I understand of him, and I, obviously didn't know him personally or anything like that, but from stuff I've read and seen, he didn't suffer fools at all.
Well, in his line of work, he'd seen a couple of really foolish people. He
Yeah,
says, "You're not that
except
foolish."
for Art Carney. I mean,
Oh,
Art
Carney,
Carney was his
God.
buddy, and he was with Art through thick and thin, no matter what.
Opposites attract. They were quite a team.
And even on those, what was it, the Smokey and the Bandit movies, and
Yeah.
what was the one he did with Tom Hanks? Uh, I forget the name of the movie, but he was, he was the Jackie Gleason right up to the end.
Well, the movie that you're probably going to be asked to see after this weekend is called Everywhere, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, and it's the movie that's getting pre-Oscar press saying that it's going to take everything,
Is
including
that the Buzz? Is that the
yeah,
Buzz movie?
and it's the all Asian cast. So it's supposed to be quite a film.
I haven't seen it. I've seen a couple of the films. I saw the Banshees of Inisherin.
Did you like that? Great cast.
How can I say it without giving away the movie? I liked it up to a certain point, and
They
then
just wanted them to be friends.
it got it took a couple of unexpected twists. And while I understand that that's what makes a good movie, in this particular case, I was kind of disappointed in it. I was really, really. What was the movie a few years ago that had the all Asian cast that won the Oscar? The Korean movie
Hmm.
that started out like a comedy and turned into a tragedy.
I can't think of the name.
Yeah. Well, Banshees is very similar to that. Evoked that same feeling in me. Um, where where 3/4 of the way into the movie, you're sitting there and saying, "Wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for."
We're going the wrong way here.
Yeah, we're going. We somewhere along the way we took a horrible turn.
I'm going to use the pit maneuver on this movie. We're going to stop it right here.
So, although again, I understand that that's probably what constitutes a good movie, right? Is it takes you on that roller coaster ride. It makes you think differently at the end than it did at the beginning.
Well, the Marvel type of movies that we're so interested in making right now take you on a ride, but you know where you're going ahead of time. You
Yeah,
know what's going to
it's
happen.
like a comic book. The hero is going to prevail, or one of them's going to die, or
What the
I
hell's
don't
this
know.
movie about? Well, there's this guy who got bitten by a spider. That's all you need to know.
I've never been a fan of those movies. I mean, I loved the comic books when I was a kid, and I loved Superman. But I've never been. I don't know. It just doesn't. They don't do a lot for me.
And they have professional pit maneuvers that stunt drivers conduct. And once you're maneuvered in those movies, you stay pit maneuvered. You don't get away.
Yeah, you're in the pits. What's your pick? What do you think is gonna?
Because there are 7 categories with open voting, there's a chance for a lot of upsets. So because a smaller, less popular, less populous supported movie is the favorite this year, there's an opportunity for upsets to take place, especially with best supporting actor and actress and some of the major awards. So, and maybe even picture of the year. So I'm looking for the upsets, and I like Jimmy Kimmel. I'm a Jimmy Kimmel fan.
Yeah, I like.
I like what he's been through and how he became more lovable.
He's kind of grown up in front of our eyes, which is.
And his promos for the Oscars are hilarious if you've seen him with John Hamm.
Yeah. Yes. I like Jimmy Kimmel a lot. I think he's the perfect guy for that because he's plugged into that community, and I think he's reverential enough to it that I didn't. Who did they have last year? It was kind of three women, right, that were hosting it.
And Mr. Smith screwed up when he slapped Chris Rock.
Yeah, I mean that's the sad thing about the Oscars. Everybody's gonna be waiting for somebody to slap somebody this year, which they don't. That's a once in a lifetime thing, and I don't think that we'll see that anything like that again. Did you see the Chris Rock special? The answer to it?
No, did you?
Yes. I liked the idea better when Chris Rock didn't answer it, to be honest with you.
I'm sure he feels the same way now.
Because he came back at him not in physical punches, but I don't like it when somebody goes after somebody's family. I just don't. I don't. And whatever they did, they did. I guess I don't follow them enough to know, but I guess she's had some peccadillos with, they have an open marriage or something like that. I don't know. I'm worried about my marriages, not his.
And how you use that picadillo, it can be like a pit maneuver. It can work, but
exactly.
you can use the picadillo and nothing happens.
So I don't find it gratifying to go after somebody's wife, and that's kind of what Rock did. And if you went after Will Smith, that would be one thing, and I'd say, okay, that was pretty funny, and he had some really funny lines in it, but it seemed to be that he waited a year to be mean.
Yeah.
And listen, Chris Rock is a funny guy. I've always liked Chris Rock. I think his comedy is hilarious. I just don't, I don't understand the revenge here of were you trying to hurt him? Were you just trying to get him to apologize? Were you, what was the intent of going after the guy's wife? Except that, maybe she caused the whole thing. Maybe she didn't. I don't know.
Well, can you remember what Chris Rock said? Did he say something about the wife?
Yeah, he said, the whole thing that started was he said that she looked like she was getting ready for Private Benjamin. I think, or I think a major, some military movie because she had the short hair.
As if
and so I guess she or Will, but evidently it was something that it wasn't the first time that it was said, and I don't know. I don't want to spend so much of my time on worrying about what Will Smith and.
You could say, if you don't want people to talk about you, why would you sit at a table right in front of the stage in front of millions of people in America?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you have a disease that affects your hair, and I feel sorry for you, but people are idiots. No matter how much money they got, they're still gonna, say the things that they say and talk the way they talk. And if you're setting yourself up out there, people are going to say stuff. He probably just said what a million people were thinking.
Well, I think that was the level of humiliation that Will Smith couldn't deal with. You have to have a pretty thick skin if you're going to be successful. And you never know when you're called upon to be the one who doesn't respond. Oh, yeah, I got it. Good job, Chris. Smile, wave. No.
Yeah, and it was
they
just
got real too quickly.
And I mean, to listen to Will Smith's credit, he has apologized.
That didn't go very far with me. It was
so
far after
it was a stupid move. If a guy is up there, you have to expect if you have Chris Rock presenting or hosting that something smart ass is going to come out of his mouth. You want public about an open marriage, So you got to expect blowback from that. If you weren't worried about that blowback, why did you go public?
Plus, if you're up for any kind of award and Chris Rock is now at the podium, somehow it's going to be mentioned for a laugh.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I think he paid the price. Also, Will Smith paid the price with that movie, Emancipation, which has not been doing well.
No.
I think people are. I think he's done irreparable harm to himself.
And he probably did a pretty good job as the father of Serena and Venus Williams, but he ruined our perception of the movie by being a putz.
Yeah, he did a great job. He did a spectacular job of in that movie. I saw that movie. I mean, it was a phenomenal job. But you're right. Your perception of him, it's like Roman Polanski. Your perception of Roman Polanski is forever ruined, no matter how many great movies he made.
And it's not just because he looks taller on television that he really is.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's certain things that you do that become not unforgivable, but they certainly mark your career. And listen, I'm not saying Will Smith's ruined. I think at some point, if he plays his cards right, he'll have a comeback. He'll do some movie or get some role, or somebody will roll the dice on him.
Independence Day 3.
Yeah, there'll be some thing that will happen that will put him back in the spotlight and hopefully salvage his career. I don't think any of us should be judged by one moment in our life unless we do something so heinous that it's unforgivable. I think I think that Will Smith is paying a price for his stupidity.
Well, he should. A lot of people thought that's got to be a joke. Come on, that was a joke.
Yeah, you don't pick up your hands to people.
But it was not a joke, and it was not. I think the people in the room that night saw better than we did on TV that it was real.
Yeah, well, you could hear it. I mean, you could hear it when they. I don't know what they did, but in one of the subsequent showings, I don't think they put a slap in there. I think that they just lowered the volume on some of the other stuff.
But in the room, they had the best soundman in the world who could have put a hell of a slap in there. It would have been beautiful and with a lot of high end and echo.
Exactly. Boing, 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 boing.
Well, Warner Brothers slap. It's like this is a Bugs Bunny slap.
Who is it? A Fritz Freeling slap.
Always that noise.
It's one of the greatest noises. It's one of the greatest effects in the world, man.
And these are the guys who made up the fact that if you run off a cliff for a moment, you can just move your legs and you can stay in place before you actually fall to your death.
Or actually go, which caused me for many years to think that to question why people who were in a plane crash didn't just open the door and get out before it hit the ground.
And it's like they never thought of it.
Did you guys watch cartoons when you were kids? All you got to do is open the door and get out.
And you may not realize that characters who are actually rabbits, pigs, and Elmer Fudd, who don't wear pants, always still manage to carry an anvil around with them. And it's there, and you don't know what they pull it out, and you don't even... Where was that anvil? Where were you hiding it?
How does that happen?
Whoop, there it is.
How does that happen? Overture, light the lights.
The random appearing of an anvil in the cartoon. You can just bear the weight of the problem of explaining it later, but it's going to happen, so bet on it.
And contrary to popular belief, every company is not named Acme. Although now you could put Amazon on those boxes, and it might have a tinge of reality to it.
Or just Bob's Explosives.
Oh, it's Amazon. Oh, man.
Who do you have on your show tomorrow, Ben?
We do not have a show tomorrow morning, so we are bereft of show. So we will return next week at 8 o'clock, where we will. I haven't figured out yet who I want for the who I'm going to sign as a guest, but I want to get a. I'm working on. I've been working without guests the past few weeks, and I think it's time to go back to having guests. I like having the conversation of people to talk to,
Right.
and getting information out there. So it'll be really fun. So we'll take this week off, and I'll spend next week. I got a couple of people I would like to get. Although I don't think the one guy I've been chasing for a long time is going to do it. Bruce
Arthur
Springsteen.
Treacher? Oh, I thought Arthur Treacher.
No, I don't. I think Arthur would do it if he could. He's just, it's just. I've interviewed a few dead people in my life, and it just never works out right.
It starts okay, but it's slow, and then it gets really tedious.
Yeah, the more they. But other than that, I'm driving the Mazda CX-9 this week, which is a car that's going away. Will cease to be in production because they're coming out with the CX-90, which is supposed to be a fantastic car, but it's a big bruising SUV. So I don't know. I see a road trip in my future here this weekend
With a car that's about to be a dead parrot?
with a car that's about to exist no more. But sometimes you got to take that last ride.
Yeah. On the 405 with 20 cops chasing you.
Well, it worked for OJ.
He did have a slice of the audience that night. Playoff basketball had begun, but we had to put basketball aside that night and watch the OJ run.
I remember when they did the split screen. They had the OJ chase in this corner and the Knicks and Houston, I believe it was, in this corner.
What a night.
God bless America, huh, pal? Where else would you want to live?
Where else would the driver of the Broncos say, you know who this is? Who is this? You know who this is.
You know who it is. AC. Tell them who it is. All right. What do you got going on this weekend? Anything you Commodoring it?
Commodore yesterday. It was great. Everyone was in good spirits. We're through with radiation. And
Good.
now we're proceeding with 4 more months of chemo.
How's the little fella holding up, okay?
You'd be surprised. For a 3-year-old, he's just so sturdy and great state of mind, positive, rebounds quickly, sick with chemo one day, barfing up his guts and eating cookies with you the next day, smiling, laughing, and playing video games. So I can't say enough about his strength and stability through this. It's driving his parents absolutely nuts because he's having atypical responses to the chemo. One time it'll be an infection that caused rehospitalization. The last time it was an ear infection that had to be seen to quickly, because if it crosses into a real problem, his defense mechanisms are non-existent now, and so he's available to every kind of sneeze or more serious problems. So visitors must be masked and wash their hands, and there's a whole protocol, which now is not so strange as we went through the. Now we know how to do that.
Used to think of it as strange, but now it's kind of.
What do we do? What do we do? Just wash your hands and shut up.
That's all.
Just wash your hands.
You should have been doing all along, like your mother told you to do when you were a little kid.
But you wouldn't do it. Now you got to do it. So
Now
do
you
it.
got to do it. Well,
In fact, what are the 3 choices, Vinnie?
you do it, or you do it.
There you go. That's how 45s were distributed in New York.
Yeah, exactly. And to every, but kid, you're gonna be in every jukebox in New York. Oh man! All right. Well, listen. Send our love to the young man, and tell him we're all pushing for him.
That boaster is a toaster. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Tell him we got him in our hearts and our prayers. Mikey, I'll see you Monday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise.
It'll be a morose Monday, and I'm waiting for the big breaking news. It looks like all of the people who are thinking about indicting Donald Trump are going to wait for one day and do it at the same time with 3 press conferences held simultaneously. Those bastards.
We're going to have just a long day of indictment.
And now with another indictment, and the man who brought the pit maneuver to the California Highway Patrol.
You like that pit maneuver, don't you?
I've seen it work beautifully, but I've seen it spin a
I've
truck.
also seen it blow up. Yeah,
You spin a truck and he just readjusts and keeps going. Drives right between 2 cop cars and he's on his way.
Yeah, that's the one I love. They turn him the other way and he just goes back through the 2 cars that have been pursuing him. It's almost like, just stay on the side of the road.
Where are you going? It doesn't matter. Come on.
Follow me. Come on. Yeah. I'll slow down so you can catch up. We don't want to lose sight of the helicopter.
You don't want to get too far behind or you miss my act with the balloon full of nitrous oxide, because I do a great Jack Benny.
That was amazing, man. I just
I'm pretty sure he was doing celebrity voices.
How long he kept them at just. Where's you got the taser right there. Hit him with the damn taser and let's go. Let's get out of here.
No, don't shoot him. He's going to do Elvis. Don't shoot him. You got to hear his Elvis. It's spot on.
And then the guy, at the end, he opens the door and tries to run. He gets 3 feet and falls on his ass.
Well, that nitrous, his feet weren't equal to the task.
It messes with your equilibrium at the very least.
My dexterity is not what it once was. Forgive the
It was so funny. He opened the door and Stu is saying, "He's running. He's got a hoodie on. He's run. Oh, he's down.
He's down."
Didn't even have to jump on him. He says, "Here, I'll give you guys a present. You guys been standing around a few hours. You don't want to run. Let me just face plant myself here and just handcuff me and let's go."
Yeah, please don't kick me if you can spare me at the end. Don't kick me in the neck.
Yeah, can we stop at the Quick Way on the way to the station house? I'm a little hungry.
I have an order waiting for us at the Piggly Wiggly. Just pull right over. I'll run in and get it.
I was so hoping that he would use his Uber Eats app or DoorDash to order food while he was sitting in the truck.
This nitrous oxide gives you such an appetite. Who wants pastrami?
I got a delivery here for a white pickup truck.
Yeah. Well, it's a gift. Yeah, it's from the cartels.
Yeah, look, it's not bad. He brought a little something for everybody. He got this crumb cake that he got cut up into like 30 pieces for all you guys.
It was good.
Yeah, I like that. Man. All right, Mikey. I will see you on Monday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise, man.
The creek's going to rise. It's been raining since 3 a.m., but right now it's not, but it's coming.
Don't drink the flood water. You never know what dead animals might be in it.
Not going to do it. I've done that. Not going to ever do it again.
Don't drink the flood water if you can't. Don't drink the flood water if you can't stem the tide. I don't know. I'll work on it. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. See you, Vin.
See you. Thank you all for listening, too.